Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for doing this.
Of course.
You have just
Slay.
been slaying lately.
Thank you. I know it's been a while since we last talked and I was on the podcast with Emily. I feel like that was yeah, it's a long time ago
You,
now.
yeah, I feel like you were very new to the Bowerman team when we did that interview.
Yeah, I think I had recently joined, and I think that was one of the first podcasts I'd ever done. I remember I was so nervous. Emily was chatting away, and I was like,
Oh, yes.
she's a
Well,
seasoned veteran.
yeah, Emily was like, the story is that she was one of the very first pros I ever had on the show. So I remember, I was doing those Fun Friday episodes, and I was like, who from your team do you want to join you? And she was like, Elise Cranny.
I feel like that was yeah, I think that was during the beginning of quarantine or something, and it was the two of us working out. It was
Yes.
just the two of us were in a small group because we couldn't work out as a team. So
That's it. That's right.
yeah.
Well, friends, if you are joining from Elise's page, I'm Lindsay Hine and I host the podcast. I'll have another where I interview mostly professional runners, but also everyday athletes as well. And Elise, I wish I had the episode number, but she came on the show with Emily Enfeld and we had a good conversation when she was new to the team. And look, you have so many things have happened in your career since we talked. You are an
Yeah.
Olympian.
I know a lot of things. It's I think it's been a little less than 2 years, but yeah, I feel like a lot has happened. Debut 10K, Olympics, yeah.
I guess let's start off with this. Looking back to then, when we first talked, when you first became a pro, what would you tell yourself? Now looking back, hindsight, you've become an Olympian. You just broke an American record in the indoor 5K. You almost just broke the outdoor 10,000 record. What would you tell that young woman?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I think the first thing I would say is patience. I think when I joined the group and you see what incredible things people have done and are doing, and you're getting your butt kicked in workouts, you're just oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get there? And I think just if I would have told myself, it just takes a couple years of consistency for everything to come together, just have patience, I think I would have saved myself a lot of angst in the moment when you're wishing to be somewhere that you're not quite.
What has been the biggest game changer in the last year, I guess, since you made the Olympic team?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the consistency and getting the strength, and I think that's something that in distance running you can't rush, even though you want to get somewhere sooner. Is you can't rush just the consistent putting together the weeks and months and years of training. And I think since joining this group is just I find that the longer I can really prioritize staying healthy and not missing any big chunks of training, the strength just keeps building off each other and from year to year. And it's then you are just find yourself handling the workouts better, or you find yourself being able to feel yeah, you're recovering better from the workouts and better able to handle the run. So I think that's been the biggest piece.
How do you stay healthy? When Jerry or Shalane give you workouts and you're having a moment or a week where you're things are feeling off, how do you have the confidence and know, I need to take a step back, I need to address some things instead of pushing?
Yeah, I think that's something huge that I've learned. I feel in the last couple years that have allowed me to stay healthy is taking a down week every couple weeks. So usually every 3 weeks I'll drop my mileage and maybe take a day off or take a shorter day. And I think you said, really paying attention to your body. I think that's actually something that Emily Enfeld really taught me when I first joined. Was she was before all my injuries, she's I'm feel they come out of nowhere, but then when I look back at my training log, I realized that I wrote tired for a lot of days in a row. So I think trying to keep track of that and also pay attention to that when it's happening, of okay, maybe I need to take a day off, or cut a gym session here. And I think I used to be very rigid in terms of I don't want to do that, and then you realize that doing that and making those small changes have you avoid taking off like multiple weeks or months by just like being smart for a couple days. So I think that's like a huge lesson that I learned.
Listen, friends, for all of you runners out there like me who aren't trying to break American records, take that advice. We all need that advice, whether we're competing on a world stage like you or just running to run because we love it.
Yeah.
Colleen Quigley in the comments saying we love Elise Cranny.
We love Steeple Squigs.
What's
We
that? I'm
miss her.
curious, what's that like for you to have so much support from women who not only are on the team, but someone like Colleen in the comments or Emily. I'm sure it's been so bittersweet to see these women who you've looked up to move on from the team, but you still get that support. You're still super supportive of each other. What's that like?
Yeah, it's so special. I think, I mean, it is so bittersweet, especially like with both Emily and Colleen, like having lived with them in like my first couple altitude camps, and they just like taught me the ropes of professional running. But we were just up in Flagstaff, and both of them were actually there training. So we got to see both Colleen and Emily like go over to Colleen's house for a couple dinners, which was awesome. So just being able to, stay in contact and like, yeah, Colleen made this incredible zucchini bread after the indoor American record. So just like to have people that still support you, it's like really special. And I think the community of professional running is really special in that way. It's like we all know we have ups and downs at different times, and it's a really hard thing to do, but also like a really special thing to do. So
I imagine these are the things you hoped for and envisioned, though, when you chose to go to Bowerman.
yeah, I think that was a big part of me deciding to come here, is just seeing, people on the team that like have medals or have set like, American records or like making teams. And I think, I was like, I want to do that. I want to, be up there with them. And so I think that, again, kind of that goes back to the beginning of like, I think it makes it really hard when you first join, because I was like, wow, I am so in over my head. But then I think, just like learning from them and continuing to stay the course is, what then just allows you to then be up there doing what you like once dreamed of when you first joined the team.
So good. Let's talk about the race this weekend. I guess, was it last weekend? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 1.5 seconds from Molly Huddle's American record. Talk to us
Yeah.
about feelings going into the race and goals and all that.
Yeah. I think I was really excited going into the race. We had been up at Flagstaff for like 2 months, and I felt like I had my first 10K had been a year before, and I felt like I was kind of mastering some more of just like how to go about like the 10K workouts and kind of that like really long grind, something I was not used to. So I was really excited, and I think just knowing that Sound Running was like putting on a really cool event, and that they were able to get the pace lights, and they were going to have spectators for the first time in a while. So that was all like very exciting going into it. And then really grateful that one of our younger teammates who just joined, Lucia, she paced 3K, and Taylor Warner helped. And so that like really got the race started off on the right foot. And yeah, then the energy was just amazing from like the spectators and everyone that was there watching.
Okay, can you tell everybody about the lights? Because I don't think many people, other than like Let's Run people and that crowd of running fans, like what's the deal with the lights and how do they help you?
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like it's a newer thing, but you can set them to a specific pace. So essentially they can help a pacer, because the pacer will just run with the lights and it will be, exactly even. So it helps kind of get in a rhythm. And then if you have the pacer, stop, it's like a really good way for you to kind of gauge where you're at. Like you can keep getting splits, but it's nice to just be able to like essentially run with the lights as like another form of like a pacer.
So they're like lighting up on the track as you go.
Yeah, they're like basically along the rail on the inside. So when you can kind of run next to them, and they're moving at the exact pace that you want to be running. So it's pretty cool. I had
That seems,
never really been in a
yeah.
race with them before, but
I
it's
was gonna
cool.
say that seems really hard to orchestrate.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
that's
I
your
don't know
first
how
time.
it works. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, let's talk about the 10K though, because like you said, you had first debuted the 10K just a year ago, and now you're so close to breaking the American record. I'm not sure where this conversation was when we first talked, but you are definitely not a 10K runner yet.
Definitely
So
not.
let's talk about that progression and decision to dive into it.
Yeah. Jerry first talked to me about it, like I guess it would have been like fall of 2020. I think we had started to see like me just make some progress in like the strength side of training, and I think he was like we should try 10K, and I remember at first being like absolutely not. Oh my gosh, like because like you said, the last time I talked to you, I feel like I was maybe dabbling in the 5K a bit, but even then I think I'd only run like one or two as a professional. Like I was primarily 1500, so
Uh-huh.
the 10K seemed a long way off. Um, from that. But I think I knew that just from a like training perspective, like I after having left college, I was like I know that I need to make a lot of like progress and really focus on developing like the aerobic and the strength side of things. So I think in some ways when he first said that, I was like, oh, okay, this will just be kind of a way to focus on something like new and exciting and try a new event, but also um, just like become a like stronger, better athlete for, the 1500 and 5K. So I feel like I still wasn't really sold on it at first, but yeah, it's definitely growing on me now. And I feel like I'm learning so much about the event still. I mean, even like this year, like we went out quite a bit faster the first 5K. So like, I feel like I learned a lot of just like how having to like deal with that fatigue. Like you feel really good and not like, I don't know, I got a little excited maybe early on, and I think that came to bite me a little bit like the last mile. But I think just kind of learning, kind of where that line is in the 10K and like being patient, but also pushing hard enough, but not, doing it too early.
Are you glad you took that risk though, going out harder?
Yeah, I am because I think it was a really different way for me to run. And I think that's really something also when you ask about, kind of what has changed since the Olympics this summer. I think just really for me working on the like mental side of things and wanting to focus on like taking more risks. I think I just wasn't, like super comfortable like leading or, yeah, like maybe, going faster at the beginning or something. And I think just again, as I've kind of gain some more strength and consistency, I'm trying to, work on those other skills of like, okay, can you take some risk? Can you maybe, push a little harder and then learn to kind of like weather the storm the second half? So I think just like getting more tools in the toolbox and like learning kind of how to hone those different skills has been really huge for me.
Did Molly Huddles, did she say anything to you about the race?
She commented back on my Instagram because I had said something about how like I outkicked the lights, but the lights were like set slightly off. So I was like, I still can't get Molly Huddle, but so she had some nice words there. But I mean, I said this in a couple, post race interviews. Like it's just been like it's awesome to even be like that close to her, like her and Shalane and people that are on the all-time 10K list are people that I feel like I've looked up to since I was like just getting into running. So to be able to, be close to that and be just like looking up to her is really special.
Do you think it's settled in? Like, does it still feel surreal?
Yeah, it definitely still feels surreal. I feel like especially like just still in the 10K, like I'm just like, wow, like if you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be like, trying to like get the American record in the 10K, I don't know if I would have believed you. But yeah, just like the whole kind of like race and that weekend was really surreal. Like I said, just the energy from the crowd and then, kind of just racing, like we said, more aggressively and in a completely different way, I think. And to come so close. And I think for a while, like at first, I was driving myself crazy because I was like, how did you not find a second and a half in 25 laps? I was talking to Jerry and he was like, yeah, he's like, at least it's even worse if you like divide that and figure out like
Oh,
how much it is per lap. It's like, yeah, it's like 2 strides
it's like
faster
a
per
lock
lap.
arm. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I think it's like, trying not to like focus on that, but focus on, the fact that like I was so close and I couldn't have dreamed like a while ago of being that close and like being in the company of like Shalane and Molly Huddle. So that's something that's really special.
Um, I was just interviewing Bob Kennedy about mostly about parenting stuff, like because his daughter is running pretty competitively in high school now, and I kind of wanted to just get his perspective on like what it's like coming from being like a really good athlete yourself and watching your kids go through this process. Anyway, that's beside the point. The point is I asked him what is one of the most exciting things he's seen in running over the past year. And he mentioned performances like what you just did and what Grant Fisher just did, because you're doing these like crazy times on these event stages that aren't like diamond leagues, you know? So how do you think you drum up the motivation to run so fast at an event like this when it's not like technically like a higher stakes event? Am I making sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, thinking back, I kind of think that's where like the races we're able to do with just our team during COVID were actually really helpful because I think, yeah, you had like no fans, like nothing. And I think, so now I think, doing a meet like Sound Running, even though it's may not be like a diamond league, is like getting those fans there is just like so much energy. And I think, yeah, I think I would have to say, I think the like energy of our team is something that's really helpful too. I think like having the guys around and knowing that like Grant and Mo and the rest of them are like, going to be getting after it, and knowing like the people that you're training with, like we're all trying to get, the world standard in the 10K. Like I think that really helps as well. You just, I don't know, it's like we're working together like day in and day out. And so it's like, okay, this race is like the fun part, kind of no matter what the stage, it's more energy.
Oh, your audio cut out, Elise. Oh, you're
Oh,
back.
can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, it's more energy than in practice, but we still get to like do it together and have, the energy of our teammates. And so I think that's something that's really special. And I think, yeah, I just think throughout like all of COVID or even last year, just even seeing other people in the running community just do all sorts of different um, meets, especially domestically. I think that's like something that's really special, is just like the level that people are kind of rising to at those meets. And so it's like, okay, you don't have to, always travel all the way to Europe for a really good meet, but you can have things here. And I think that's where like Sound Running has done a great job too of just putting so many meets together for people to like go after standards and stuff. And I think it's really cool to just have those opportunities like right here close by.
Yeah, thankfully they're doing that. I mean, someone had to roll up their sleeves and have some innovation there with that. How important do you feel like that is for you all as the pros, fans of the sport, and just growing the sport?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's like, I mean, it's just, I think it's going to be a game changer for the sport. I think the more that we can have here and the more like really high level meets, so that, we can have those like, again, those PRs are like world or Olympic standards without um, having to travel. And I think that is, huge for the sport here too, like the fans of like, okay, you can go to more events in person because you're not asking a fan to like travel to Europe, for instance, and it's like, it's fun to be able to watch it live stream, but to be able to like go to events, in your area. And I think that's what's really cool with like domestic meets being held in a lot of different places, is hopefully, the like fans of track and field can access like at least a couple of those meets in person. And I think there's just something so special about, yeah, the energy that you get like at a live track and field event. And so I think that's going to be huge in growing the sport, and even just like, again, like elevating the bar for in general.
Oh, you're back. You went away, but you're back. Are you back?
Okay. Yeah.
So do you feel like Jerry is going to have you focusing more on 10K now? Like
I
more
don't
than you
know.
would the 5K?
I don't know. It was like a couple days. We just got back on Monday, and I think it was on Wednesday. We were just doing some strides at the track, and I was like, when can I run a 1500? So
How are you feeling about the 1500?
I want to go back and do a couple more 1500s. Like I think um, the 10 was really fun, and I'm excited to do that in May, but I'm excited for hopefully some 1500s in the near
You've put
future.
you put the bug in his ear.
Yeah.
We have to talk about you breaking Shalane's American record in the indoor 5K as well. I mean, talk about two really exciting months in your life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was a crazy weekend too. Again, like super fun. That Shalane held the record, I think just like it made it, really fun. Like she was talking about it a lot before. She was like very encouraging of like, you guys need to like get this record. It can't be standing anymore. And then, having Gabriella and Courtney in the race and Gabriella getting the Canadian and North American record. So, and I love indoor and I don't think I've run indoor since maybe 2018 or something, but I don't know why. I just love running on the bank track. I know some people don't, but I feel like you just get in such a like rhythm and just kind of feel like you're like, flying around the track. And so I was really excited to get back to running some indoor, and obviously Boston is a really fast track. So I was excited for that race for sure.
What did Shalane say to you after the race?
She gave me a really big hug, and she was like, "Wow, did you think?" Because I think, we started off our first K was a little or 2K was a little bit slower, so I think she was like, "Wow, like if did you think that you could run in the 14:30s like a couple days ago?" So I think she was like really happy with how fast we were able to run and how fast we could close. And like I said, it was just like it's really special that you have a coach that's like so supportive and like wanting you to break her record and be there to celebrate with you after.
Yeah, I mean, but that was by a lot. 14 seconds is a lot.
Yeah, I didn't really, that's I think what she was kind of saying after was like I didn't really realize because we were like at 15 flat pace through the first 2K, so I didn't exactly realize how fast we would run.
Wow.
So when I was like crossing the line, I was like, wow, we like really ran a lot faster than I thought.
And in the back to the sound running event where you did the 10K, where you almost made the 10K American record, like was that so hard because you were by yourself so much of it?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think like that's where Carissa's like coming back from injury, but like that would have been
Okay.
like amazing to have. I was like I would have loved to have another teammate or someone in the race. Because yeah, it was like 7K is a bit of a long way to go by yourself. So that's where like yeah, the pacing lights and again the energy of the crowd was nice. But I think especially like the last 1200 or something when it really hit me, I was like, it would be really nice to have someone because you're trying to like not lose focus and not slow down too much, but you're like, oh man, get me to the finish line.
I bet you're missing Carissa then if she's I didn't realize she was coming back from injury.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's crushing it now. She just had surgery in October, I think. So,
Okay.
yeah, I feel like we worked really well together in that 10K last year. Like, Courtney and Vanessa paced us through a far way, and then we were able to switch off leads. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, ah, man, like we need Carissa. We need to be switching off leads, and that was watching Grant and Mo as well. Just like you have that extra something when you have a teammate in there and you're able to work together and switch off. And I think then you have a teammate help you through a time when maybe you feel tired in the race, like re-energize you, and then you can help pull them along too. So I think it's like a good dynamic when you can have that.
Well, we'll get to the end here and talk about being an Olympian for just a little bit. Can you tell us what it felt like to make your first Olympic team? I know it's been a little while now, but it's got to be one of the most exciting moments of your life.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there's still like aren't words for it. It's like that type of thing where you have some memories that are just like so like clear in your mind. And I think finishing the 5K and then seeing that both Carissa and I had made the team and then kind of doing the like lap around Hayward Field and being able to, I mean, I feel like that was one of the first times to have fans like and have like friends and family there. I just feel like that, yeah, like 30 minutes to an hour right after that race was really special. And I still feel like I don't quite have the words to describe that.
Dude, that was such a hot day and you won the trials. I mean, again, guys, I know this was a while ago, but I haven't talked to Elise since then. So talk to us about mentally getting through that and like willing yourself to be like, I am making this team.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah, super hot. I think again, like, really helpful to like have Carissa, I think have a race plan of like, okay, we can work together that last mile. I think that was really helpful. Especially when you're halfway and you're like, oh man, it's really hot and we're all like really packed up. Everyone's still here. But I think, yeah, just staying as relaxed as possible and being like, okay, the last mile, we're gonna give everything we have because there's, something very big riding on the line. But yeah, being able to do that together was really special. And I think just kind of thinking about, all like the like hard work that we had put in to get to that point. And it's like even when it's, hot and there's a lot of other factors, you're like, okay, we've trained for this, we're prepared for this. And so standing on the line and being in the race, like confident that, you've done everything you can to prepare. So you got to go execute.
What did you learn from your first Olympic experience?
Oh man, so much. I think, again, that kind of goes back to even when you were asking, like, what has changed since the Olympics? Like, I think it was just like such an eye-opening experience for me. I think, just racing on the global stage for the first time and basically, watching other athletes and seeing what it takes, to be up there and be contending for medals, I think was just so eye-opening. And also I think the way that the 5K is run on the international stage, like, Shalane and a lot of people were like would tell me, would tell Chris and I like how the race was going to go. They're like, oh, championship 5Ks are often like very fartlicky. But I think people could have told us, until they were blue in the face. So we had to like get in there and you have to just like feel what that's like. You have to feel what it's like to, compete against, people that I hadn't raced against before, but you've like watched for a long time. And like, it's like very like aggressive. You have to learn how to like hold your space and things like that. And I think, yeah, I think I just walked away from that being like, I want to be much more, intentional with my training and, even in my like mental approach and, so that I can, like, better be able to compete on the global stage in the future.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. I think we're okay though. I
Oh,
think you're back.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that is intimidating, standing on the line at your first Olympics with when you have seasoned veterans who have been there times before, Olympics times 3 maybe even.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's like you're standing on the start line and they're announcing the names and like accolades of the people standing next to it, and you're like, wow, like a lot of these people, like you said, are like 2, 3 times Olympians. They have like a lot of global medals. And so I think that's something, that I learned too is like working to like have the confidence of like even if you haven't done that to like see yourself as putting yourself in the race. Because I definitely think looking back, like I wasn't super confident standing on the line of that final. And then I think that showed in, how I raced. I think just kind of off the back of the pack, like the whole time, like I never felt like I was in the race, even from the beginning. And I think, a lot of that stems from like my like mindset and, level of confidence going into that. So like definitely, something to work on as well. So you're not standing on that line, intimidated by other people, but ready to like be challenged and put yourself in it.
I wonder how much of that experience is needed though, just to have that, right? Like next time you're going to be that much more confident. The next time you're going to be that much more confident. It's like you were saying earlier, like you can't fast forward progress. You have to be patient and consistent. And it's like, I just wonder how much moments like that, like you had to have that experience to gain the confidence you're going to need to do it that much better next time.
Oh, totally. And I think both Chris and I said that like right when we finished. I was like, I feel like we were both like, I feel like we could like recover and run this exact same race a week later and we would do it a completely different way. But I think those are the moments that like you are like those turning points and like really important in your career. Like I said, I think that was like a really big wake up moment for me of like, okay, like how can I be more intentional in practice? Like how can I focus on those like fartlek type efforts in practice and, looking at them as like preparation for the race? Or how can I, work on, working with a sports psychologist and working on the like mental side and confidence of things. And I think if I didn't have that experience, I don't think I would have made a lot of the changes that I've made in the last couple months that I feel like have made like a really big difference in my running, just because I was like, okay, you see what it takes of the people you're competing against, and you're like, okay, these are the things that, it makes you aware of kind of like blind spots that you've had of like, okay, I need to work on my confidence because I stood on the line and I wasn't fully confident and ready to put myself in that race.
Elise, we have to ask, are you like, is the marathon on the horizon? We're talking about Shalane Flanagan, Molly Huddle. We all know what path they took.
Oh gosh. Definitely not anytime soon at all. I think the
Of course
10K
not
is my max. But I mean we've actually been Vanessa and I have been talking about this a bit, because Andrea just joined the team and she's running the New York half this weekend. So we've been talking a lot about road races and stuff. But I think especially seeing, Shalane do her 6 marathons this fall, just like the energy that I feel like you can see in road race. Like we just like we want to do a road race so bad, and like those major marathons, it seems like such a great like community and such great energy. So one day.
I think so. Get through at least another Olympic cycle and then reevaluate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, has Jerry like put the bug in your ear at all, even though it wouldn't be for years?
No, he hasn't said anything about it, which I'm glad, because usually I feel like once he gets an idea, like I feel like that was what it was with the 10K. It's happening sooner than later, so I hope he doesn't bring it up for a little bit. Stick to the track for now.
Yeah, you're still so young. How old are you?
25.
Yeah, stay on the
So
track for like 5 more years.
yeah.
Okay, let's just wrap up with some into podcasts that we normally do. Do you have a best, most recent book you've read?
Um, oh, I read at altitude, I read Let Your Mind Run, by Dina Castor, which was really, really good. So I'll go with that one.
I'm kind of surprised you haven't read that already, or were you rereading?
No, I hadn't read it actually. So I know, I feel like I was like very behind the times. I feel like a lot of people had read it and have like raved about how good it was for a long time. I don't know why it took me so long to read, but I was reading it and I was like, why did this take me so long to read? It's so good.
Are you back in Portland now?
Yes, we were back in Portland.
And what's going on like for the next month or so? What's the focus?
Yeah, I think we're kind of just going to get back to some training the next month, maybe a little bit kind of like a small little base kind of strength again. And then I think the plan is to go up to Park City like April or mid-April, since the like 10K is now the 27th of May. So that kind of moves everything forward a bit more. So yeah.
All right, Elise. Well, this has been fun. Last question. What show are you binging, and do you have a recommendation for us to like tune out our brains on?
Ooh, my family has recently got me into The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is
Oh,
actually really good. Have you seen it?
yeah, I watched it like a couple years ago, and at least a season or two behind, but it's really cute.
Yeah, I'm still behind. Like I think the fourth season just released, so
Okay,
I'm like really far behind. I think I'm still on season 2 or something. But they were like, you need to watch it. It's just like I'm always looking for like a good lighthearted show. So
a good Ted Lasso-y show.
yes, Ted Lasso actually, I'm actually really bad at watching shows and I don't usually finish many or watch that many, but the most recent one I think that I finished all the way through was Ted Lasso and I absolutely loved it. It's definitely my like all-time favorite show.
What do you do though? Like you have to like chill so much and recover. I feel like a lot of pro runners do get a lot of Netflix in. What do you do that keeps you
I
from
know.
doing that?
I usually read. I read quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know why. Or usually like maybe I'll watch a movie. But we were joking when we were at altitude because one of the altitude houses, I think they made it through like 5 or 6 shows And then the house that I was in, we didn't even make it through one show. We like we tried to watch a show called Normal People that's like 12 30-minute episodes, and we made it through like 11 of them, and we were like, what? We were so confused. We're like, how did the other house make it through 6 different shows? So I don't really know. I have a really difficult time binging
That's so
shows, and I
funny.
feel like my recommendation list just keeps getting longer and longer, but I'm not making any progress.
Yeah, maybe you're getting more sleep. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, true. We'll go with that.
Well, Elise, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad we could finally catch up after a couple years.
I know it's been too long. Congratulations on all your recent success. And I know it's a big summer coming up with world championships and whatnot. So best of luck in these next few months.
Thank you. Thank you again.